Okay, just a disclaimer, you need to be running this video on a PC CRT with 48 hertz set, or I guess any multi-format CRT which will scan out 48 hertz. If you have a fixed pixel display that can scan out 48 hertz single strobed, that'll work as well, but there's so few of those, like the OLED PVM and maybe a few LCD gaming monitors, and that's it. You can view this 48 hertz on a sample and hold display like an LCD or OLED, but it's not going to have the same effect as if you're viewing on a CRT monitor, which is strobed, very low MPRT strobed at 48 hertz. Anyway, let's get into it. So here you're going to see the 48 FPS UFO is perfectly clear, just like you're used to at 60 or 120 or whatever. This 24 FPS UFO, though, is a double image, kind of stuttering back and forth, and that ruins the motion quality. And the 12 FPS image is also a quadruple image. So there's four. Each frame gets displayed 4 times, so the motion's ruined. So this means that you're not getting the benefits of a CRT when you're using these low frame rates. The hertz and the FPS have to match. So there's a black frame insertion demo, and you can see here 24 FPS plus black frame insertion, it's perfectly clear again. You have more of a phantom array effect, which you can easily see if you focus your eyes here and do not eye track the UFO. You will see more double images, or more trail images on your CRT than you're used to. And also the UFO will kind of separate. But while you're eye tracking, though, it's completely smooth. It's just flickery. So that is a problem with the flicker. And it also, if I disable the brightness equalizer here, you can see that the brightness is decreased. So here it's making this UFO darker and this one brighter. It's going to cut the brightness in half compared to just running 48 or running without the BFI. And you can check this all the way down. Doesn't really work anymore once you get down to this low of frame rates. It doesn't really work anymore at all. Sort of works there. It is making it like clearer, but it's not really motion anymore. Okay, especially at this frame rate. If you're at 8 FPS, it's really not that significant. Sure, yes, there's less double images, but like you can barely even eye track this and have like a smooth image. It's just jumping around. Like it looks like a slideshow pretty much. Even at 8 FPS. Or even at a one frame strobed. It's the same thing down that far, but when you go up to 12, it is still working. Not nearly as well as 24, but it is still working. But the problem with this is most people can't tolerate this kind of flicker. It's very flickery, and it's flickering all the time, even when the image is not moving. So what we can do is we can interpolate. So that would make this 24 FPS image the same as this 48 FPS one. And it doesn't introduce any flicker, and you can actually go to any frame rate. So that does not fully take care of these contained frame rates, 12 FPS for anime, for example, but it does increase the smoothness a little bit. The problem is you're interpolating across the different duplicate frames. So it's not going to completely like take 12 FPS contained and turn it into 24, but it's almost there. You're going to be increasing it the more the interpolation multiple goes up as well. So you'll have more smoothness in anime at 240 FPS than you will at just 48 for the character animation. The panning is you literally just need to get it up to the strobed FPS that you're on. So if you're okay with 48 hertz flicker, then all you have to do is go 2x. And there you go. You're 48 hertz, 48 FPS, and you get your full motion clarity. Yeah, hope that makes sense. Oh, I almost forgot to talk about interpolation artifacts and then the kind of trade-off of eye strain and annoyance. So some people are going to be more annoyed by the interpolation artifacts and the decreased frame separation. You know how I showed you those really low frame rates and how it's kind of like a slideshow? That is part of the effect for animation. So some people will prefer that it's not smoother because they prefer the original appearance of the animation, even if there are no artifacts, right? Even if it just looks perfect. Some people are just going to be attached to that and going to prefer it. I do not. I have no attachment for it. I do not care what the original intention was at all for that to look like. What I care about is making it look better. And we all know this is how it is with video games. We can all agree that 12 FPS is just worse, right? It's just worse than 30 or 60. Lower is worse. But for some reason, people are reluctant to admit that when it comes to video. It is a stylistic choice, but it does look, objectively worse than the higher frame rate. So if you want it to look worse, and that's the look you're going for, kind of like a VHS filter, composite, running something over composite just because you want the artifacting to have a certain look, certain amount of nostalgia, that's kind of what it is. So that's one downside of interpolation, is that it's changing the original appearance of low FPS animation. It's making it look better, and that's changing the way that it originally looks. But the flip side of that argument is that when you look at the still images, the original still images, like this is a still image that I'm pointing to with my mouse cursor, the effect of stutter here that you're seeing is not there in the still images. It's not there in the original art. So while the artist did intend for it to look like this, that does not mean that that's what the original art is. It just means that's the intention. That's the way the artist wanted you to view their art. It's not the way their art actually is physically. The thing that's actually introducing those effects are phenomena that are caused by the way that it's displayed. So you're going to have a different appearance depending on whether it's displayed on sample and hold, or multi-strobed, or single-strobed, right? Like when I showed you the black frame insertion demo, that's a huge deviation from the artist's original intention, but we changed nothing about the original video. This is a video, what you're looking at right now. And nothing was altered when we did that black frame insertion at all. Every original frame was kept in its place. We only removed the duplicate frames, which are not part of the video at all, right? They're not part of the signal when we're watching a video. So that's a big debate. And personally, I opt to remove the starter artifacts, remove any blur artifacts, and remove or not introduce flicker by doing black frame insertion by using interpolation. I think it has the least downsides of all of the choices you could possibly choose. And the other downside would be the interpolation artifacts. So if you go back and use the original SVP, which is a algorithmic non-AI interpolation, it will have a lot of artifacts, especially on fine patterns, such as a fence that you're scrolling past, something like this. But it's very fast, it runs on the CPU, and it's been around for a long time. And that it's a viable option for a lot of people because they don't have a powerful GPU. And I think it's better than not using interpolation at all. Even though there are a lot of artifacts, it's still better. I have a lot of eye strain when I'm looking at low frame rate content for a long time, and a movie is that, right? If the cinematography is really good, like in Inception, where they're always tracking the non-moving objects, then that is better. That's like, I don't hate it as much, right? But whenever there is a pan, sometimes I look at the background and then I'm seeing that. But if the cinematography is good enough, I can watch a movie and not feel incredibly uncomfortable without the interpolation. The problem is the anime movies, right? They don't use those tricks in anime, and there's no additive motion blur. There's no shutter effect to smooth the phantom array effect out. So yeah, it's horrible for anime. So for anime, I can't stand to watch anime without any interpolation. And so for the past few years, I've always used interpolation. I'm always watching on strobe displays. I'm watching 60 hertz strobed all day, every day, right? So I'm never going to not use interpolation when I'm watching a movie or anime, or any video at all, really. I don't look at low frame rate anymore. So yeah, it's up to you, your choice. But that's what I do, and that's what I recommend, even with SVP, right? But then you step up to Rife. You got Rife 2.3, which only does 2x in real time. And that's extremely high quality. That's a massive generational leap over SVP. But then you have Rife 4.6, which also does any FPS in real time, and it's faster than Rife 2.3, and it's only a little bit worse. It's like maybe like a quarter worse than 2.3. It's mostly on those fine patterns again. And that's like, it's way better than SVP, and it's just as fast if you have like a 3080 and you're using TensorRT. It's actually faster, I'd say. Yeah, so crazy what we have access to already. And then you've got GMFSS, which is a recent AI interpolation. Rife is also AI. I forgot to mention that. And GMFSS is another generational leap above Rife. It's just crazy how high quality it is. It's so slow, though. On my 3080, it's like 5 frames a second. So it takes forever to do a movie. But it is amazing. It's like crazy how low the artifacting is. Even on character animations, even on like massive sweeps across, like camera just going super fast, the artifacts are so low on that. It's just so high quality. And who knows what's going to happen in the future, you know? And maybe in 8 years we'll be able to use real-time interpolation on games, and you know, just like they're doing with DLSS 3, but with anything, like maybe in RetroArch, you know, on any GPU or any recent GPU. That's a pretty cool future to think about. And maybe it'll even come to streaming services. You know, maybe they'll just give us interpolated versions of these old movies because everyone's hooked on HFR, high frame rate. But that's kind of unlikely. You know, the film industry is moving really slowly. So this is what you got to do if you want that motion clarity in your videos. Yeah, I think I'll upload a couple like short test clips, like maybe like some 30 FPS games interpolated and stuff like that. Yeah, because there's some pretty cool shit that you can do. Anyway, yeah, that's it, guys.